folks. My name's Liam, captain of Motor Yacht Unbridled, a 191 Trinity for charter, currently in Costa Rica. I'm looking around Marina Flamingo. It's beautiful. Lovely. But the highlight of my day, and the charter starts in 2 hours, folks, but the highlight of my day is having this moment of time to speak with Gary Napier from Bro Talk, from the CAP counselling, but we already started into football. Anyway, Gary, give a little introduction to yourself for the audience, because I'm in butterfly world here. You're probably one of the most impressive humans I've met in a long time, in probably a decade, and I just really value your time with us.
Okay. You're too kind. Thank you for having me on the show, Liam. So, yes, as Liam said, so my name's Gary Napier. I reside in Mallorca with my wife. I would normally say 3 daughters, but they've all flown the nest, so it is my wife and I. We've been on the island since 2016, since our 9th year. We run a charity organisation called Street Angels, which looks after vulnerable people in the heart of Magaluf during the summer months. And that could be anybody who's just drunk, lost their way back to the hotel, to more serious instances, somebody who's been in a fight or sexually assaulted. We've been running that for the last 8 years. And as you rightly said, we run a practice called the Gap Counselling, where we look after people's mental health in regards to couple counselling, self-esteem, anxiety, depression, and also Bro Talk, which is a podcast that we do focusing with men and men's health, created a safe space for men to share and speak openly about their challenges, vulnerabilities, and also to encourage other men in regards to their successes and whatever they've overcome. So that's a quick whistle tour in terms of what we're involved in Mallorca.
True. So it's a lot more than just the men in mental health, you know, and Bro Talk is that platform, but the Gap Counselling is more about families, children, the whole, you know, the whole spectrum of mental health and wellness.
Yes, for sure. And particularly with Bro Talk, it's what it says on the tin. It was actually thought by Ria. And it's getting a lot more awareness now. We know about men and mental health and the importance of speaking. But I still don't believe it has enough in terms of action. And my motto for this year, Liam, is about ironically, playing with words, the time for talk is over, whereby we can speak about it, but nothing's put in place. So we're very intentional about creating spaces, whether it's Bro Talk podcast, men's breakfast, additional spaces where men, whether it's 2 or 3 of us or more, can come together and speak openly about deeper, meaningful things in terms of what's affecting us, good, bad, and indifferent.
Exactly, and you know what I want to touch base, and this is, you know, not about me in any way, shape, or form, but you know, because I want to focus on you and your knowledge, and we've got some really interesting questions here. But you know, I just had a great chat with 5 captains online here, and we're starting to build platforms of engaging with people to take away the stigma of how are you feeling. And generally in yachting, the answer for my last 25 years until this year was, I'm fine, everything's perfect, ready to go. Yeah. And then I met you, and you gave me an opportunity or a challenge to be vulnerable, and that's really changed my life a little bit. I don't know if it's maybe a better or worse person, but it's given me an opportunity to open up my eyes and my ears and try and help, you know. The only problem is I told my son the other day, I said, son, I'm not feeling great. I'm a little flat. You know, it's Sunday. We've got a big charter coming up. And he said, Dad, look around you. You're in Marina Flamingo in Costa Rica. You've got no right to be flat, Dad. So it's a two-way street, but I really do appreciate kind of the challenge you gave me to be vulnerable, and I want to try and, you know, spread that platform to people that they can reach out to people. And when people ask you, how are you, you know, be vulnerable, have that little bit of openness, you know. But what are you finding? Are you finding people generally contact you after, not rock bottom, but after an issue, or is there a more proactive approach people are having, or are you seeing any trends?
There needs to be a trust. And naturally, when I go to football, I'm going to football after that talk this evening, and you say, how are you? You say, fine, the end, etc. You expect that. You're not expecting someone to then, you know, divulge all whatever they're going through. But I am very much, and I think this should be true for all of us who are in any form of leadership position, whereby you read the room and you look at certain people, okay, are they a bit quiet, or are they a bit angry? What's going on? And I'm not going to ask everyone to be a psychologist, but it's just checking out on people to make sure, are they okay? So after a football match, for example, I will reflect, and I'll be, if it's not warranted, I won't do it. But if I see somebody just wasn't a normal self, I'll send a text to say, oh, is everything okay? You didn't seem to be your normal self tonight. I could be wrong. And they could come back and say, oh, yeah, Gary, I'm fine. But most coaches say, yeah, Gary, I did it last night. It was because of this. Thank you for checking up on me. And it's just knowing that somebody is seeing you beyond that arena. They're seeing that person and thinking, oh, wow, somebody's taking the time out to check, am I okay? And it's not a family member. It's not my boss. It's a colleague or someone I play football with.
And that's that intermediary person, let's say it's myself, and I've had crew reach out over the years and say, this happened to them, what should I do, or advice. As an intermediary without the skill set, what would you advise someone in that role that they're concerned about a friend? Because that's probably the hardest thing. Do I get involved? Do I not get involved? Where do I direct them? You know, and there's great platforms now like yourself and the Crew Coach and Seize the Mind. There's beautiful platforms in yachting now.
Yeah.
But how do you address that? Like, how do you have that approach?
Most important, regardless of when it's in a professional capacity or a casual capacity, is listening. Listen. If somebody is being brave enough to open up or to share, yes, something's going on, then what they need mostly from you is not even advice straight away. It's just to be heard, just to listen. They're not looking to you necessarily for the answer or answers, but how they see you is you're a safe person. You're a safe space that I can speak, that I can share, be open. And that in itself is priceless. After that, you may then need to direct or even say, God, I don't even know how to help you, but wow, I recognise what you're going through. Thank you for sharing with me. But that's what they need mostly, just to be heard and not judged, not feel judged or ashamed or criticised.
Understood. Good advice. I think Sam's got a couple of questions here for us. Sam, have you got a question?
I just wanted to kick off with a statement from Captain Pablo. He said, basically, help each other, pray for each other, motivate each other, and communicate with each other.
That's good advice from Captain Pablo. Help each other, promote each other, motivate each other. But I think listen to each other is kind of the key that you've got out of that last statement, correct? Yeah. So it's listening, but do I go and then reach out to more people and just ask how they are? Like, how do we, I don't know, how do we help? How do we help as a community?
As a community, let's say if I wanted to help, I didn't know where to go to, I would probably be assessing people. I say assessing it very loosely, whereby, once again, I can't get away from the word safety, Liam. Who could I feel safe, or could I potentially feel safe with? Because it doesn't leave us from when we're children. We gravitate towards people who makes us feel safe. People are a bit wary of it, okay, I'm not sure. They may feel safe, but it just goes back onto natural instincts. And most importantly is making that step, and being brave enough to say, I may be rejected. It's like going out on a date or asking a girl out, saying, there may be a no, but the degree of safety that it might be positive I feel is stronger than being rejected. And that's the same with guys reaching out to another guy. It's also that fear of being rejected, like to turn around and say, oh, pull yourself up, or this derogatory language I don't appreciate, but it's very common, stop being a girl. And if you're met with that, you're going to go back into your cage and think, right, I'm never going to ask for help again. So I feel as men, we need to be self-aware in terms of our responses, because often the response comes from a place that we're not comfortable. This is new to us. And rather than say, I don't know what to do with this, we'll show the bravado and say, oh, stop being silly, but really deep down thinking, oh my gosh, what do I do with this? So it's an education on both fronts, Liam. So in reality, I don't think we can ever get away from the step of we still need to be vulnerable or show some vulnerability to let another human being know I need support or I need help.
All right, Gary, really apologise for that. We just lost power there to the dock.
Okay.
Starling went out, everything went out, but that's life on boats.
Okay, no. Goes with the territory.
So where do we leave it? We spoke to Sam basically what network on board we can have.
Yeah. We'll talk about how it's created. For me, what came to my mind, Liam, is that speaking and sharing, everything starts from the top. The leaders in any form of organisation create the culture they want. And I think to create that safe space, it does come from the people who are leading. So it doesn't mean that the leader or leaders have to share all their problems, but they do need to set the permission levels. And that's then a story that will encourage others to feel safe to reach out also. So for me, any form of meeting, whether it's a one-to-one or a men's meeting, I will share a bit of my story as to why I believe in this, how it's helped me, not having it, how it's not helped me. So they'll get an insight into Gary Napier as to why this is important for me and why I believe this will benefit other people.
Understood. It's a tough one. Men, female, mental health. I'm really learning about it. I want to keep going with this. I know I've got a couple of questions. The one big one I have that a couple of captains have reached out to me. How do they promote mental health on board yachting in their platforms? Because we all have weekly or daily conversations with crew, but we just, like, where you and I are working together quite well, and we're going to engage you with the crew probably next week to introduce you to all the crew. Is that a good start for captains, or you think captains should be kind of one-on-one with more people?
I personally think we better start off in groups, and it's as best you can set it as part of your timetable. So it doesn't have to be every day or every week, but we have this space, we have this time allocated, and also then flagging up the reason why we're doing this. So we recognise that in the yachting industry, it can be stressful, it can be tiresome. Because of this, that can cause that. So you highlight the cause and the effect. So you get people's agreement, think, yes, I can relate to this. So this is why we're having this. It always goes back to, why is this important? How is this going to benefit me? How is this going to promote a more positive culture going forward?
Absolutely. And I think it does come from a leadership role. Like, I think it's my responsibility as a captain, not just to, balance the books and keep the crew safe. It's my responsibility to look forward and help develop the crew into where they want to be and the places. It is a very stressful environment, I must admit. Like, I'm really opening up this year and kind of saying it. This is not easy, and I gave a good, appreciation to the crew the other day of the yachting industry and said, everyone, just brokers, owners, representatives, just give the crew thanks, because us as crew really do provide the results for the clients. The other one I had for you, we talked about Newcastle and Liverpool the other day, and the lost Liverpool, in the Caribou Cup. Yeah. Congratulations, Newcastle. But what part of someone's success or performance do you think is affected by mental health? And that could be either fatigue or just not in the right mental state. Because I feel like the more I look into this, it's more like almost 40% of their performance, if they're not in the right mind state, it can be affected, and that can risk injury and illness and so forth. Would you agree, or?
Liam, it's a direct correlation, regardless of the work we do. Let's say, for example, the main issues in our life are either in the workplace or at home. So if you've got issues at home, they will be carried into the workplace. You cannot be performing at 100%, no matter how great you feel you are at switching off or putting it into that box, and I'm now at work. It will leap over into the other arena. And the same happens the other way around. If work is the cause of your stress, it will spill over into your private life. So in the short answer to your question, yes. And once again, that requires honesty in terms of, if I went up to you and said, Liam, I'm okay to work, but just want you to know that I'm dealing with some issues at home, want you to be aware of it. So if I'm not 100%, but I can show up 90%. If you say, Gary, I appreciate that telling me, obviously be aware of it, then that's going to make me want to work for you even more, because you haven't made me feel like, well, Gary, I don't care whether you've got problems at home. You show up 100%, otherwise you're out. What's that going to do to my mental health?
Understood, yeah, it's great. But I also think, like, shoreside events, like, tell everyone about what you're doing with the football match coming up in the May, correct? Like, that is, to me, an industry game changer, especially for the community of Palma and the network where it brings everyone together. How did that start? What was the incentive behind it? And how many years now? 3, correct?
Yeah, so this will be a 4th year. So it's the Manuel Cup, and the theme's in the name, Manuel, and about men becoming well. And we just wanted this to be an annual event, and thankfully it has been, alongside the November charity event in November. And the idea was it was football. A lot of men like football, not all, but a lot. And it's a forum to bring the yachties and the land people together over fun, sport, banter, and build a community. And the guy who leads it for the yachty, AJ, is a great ambassador for men's mental health, so he gets the big picture, and it's recognised that the whole theme of this it's more than football. So initially it was about guys wanting to play 11-side football because we don't get that much opportunity, especially as you get older. But after the football match, we'll then have a couple of people speaking, sharing their stories about their journey with mental health from the yachties, from people who work on land. And then let people it's a captive audience. And then you get the afterwards, a typical, oh, me too. And I remember the first time somebody spoke, Liam, they said about what we said earlier, how are you? And it said, like, followed up by saying, but how are you doing really? So with that simple question by saying, how are you? Somebody's going to say, fine. When you follow it up and say, how are you doing really? It evokes a different response. And then somebody says, oh, you actually really want to know how I'm doing. And after that, when people go off and have their beers and barbecue, there were private conversations going on saying, do you know what? Yeah, I really struggled earlier this year, but I'm not going to do too well. And that's what it promotes. It's like one guy saying to another guy, yeah, things are not so great at the moment. And that's what you want. And then from that, you can then take it to the next level with any professional help or informal group. But so now, Liam, 2025, it has grown so big. It's now a real community feel. We don't need to advertise it as much. More people involved in organising, getting involved, families. It's amazing how much it's grown through the 4 years. And also women, because it's focused on men. Women recognise how important it is well for men to speak about it, because actually, for many of them, they live with us. They see the downside. They see when us men are not turning up correctly because they suffer from it. The children, the work. So it has a spiral effect. So it's not one that focuses on men. It's about men and families, communities, men helping men to become a better man, to serve in the other ingredients that we are in, the other roles.
Yeah, understood. I mean, it's a special time, I think. For some reason, it's a special time in the world where so many beautiful people like yourselves are really putting themselves out there. And I want to embrace in that journey with you. And if there's anything that I can do or the crew of Unbridled can do, I think would be really honoured. I'd love to be over there playing football with you, beside you, being Liverpool supporters and all. But I think we've got to finish up next. I've got these charter clients coming, and I've got to do the final captain's check, which has a stressful moment. It has about an hour. I go around with my white gloves and I start to see what's right, what's wrong, and then there's a little flutter, and then we all regroup. And when the guests arrive, it's a saying in yachting, it never rains on the rich because the crew hold the umbrella. Yeah. So that's the burden we face for the next kind of 48 hours on board Motor Yacht Unbridled is we're in that mode. But you've really given me a lot to digest and think about, and I can't thank you enough, Gary. I want to keep spending more time with you, and I'm looking forward to trying to get over to Palma and actually meet you in person and sit down with you and my wife and have a nice meal or some tapas or something.
That would happen. And very finally, Liam, before you go, I want to say how important sport is as well to men, because 6 years ago, we played football on Tuesday night. Tuesday night playing football was my mental health space. That was my saving space. Once all the craziness that was going on in my world, I was looking forward to Tuesday. That was my anchor. And I know football and other sports is so much of an anchor for many men where they can just release.
All right, Gary, appreciate it, man. Once again, everyone, it's Captain Liam, Motor Yacht Unbridled. It's a very humbling experience. This is always when I have these type of open conversations, just as important as having ones about mission Tiburon and sharks. And then next week, I'm actually taking your little advice there, Gary, and I'm going a little bit more further down the vulnerability path. And I think I've got a guest whether it's a guru or not, he's into the spirituality and the yoga and the faith without religious bias. And that's another risk for me. It's another platform that I'm like, okay, how am I getting myself into this and what am I going to do? But I'll embrace that vulnerability. If anyone's got any questions, please reach out to me or Gary at the Gap Counselling and Bro Talk. And then big special thanks above all as well to Yachting International Radio. I think it's a very special person behind Yachting International. Raya, you know who you are. And we're very blessed to have that connection through Raya and work with Raya. And it's just a wonderful platform to have in yachting with a really strong community. Any final words, Gary, and anything else you'd like to say?
No, Liam, just continue what you're doing. It's great working with you, getting to know you, and it's one man at a time. Dare to be vulnerable.
Be blessed. You'll never walk alone. Thanks, Gary.